Hey guys, Tyler with the Lawn Review. Welcome back. If you clicked on this video, there's a high likelihood that you're interested in having a better looking lawn. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how you can basically restart your lawn in one weekend. Most people in the comment section that I see shy away from lawn care because they think it's, too complex, too much work. Well, I'm going to show you that that's not always the case. It's actually way easier than you might think. Let's get into it. But if you've tried this and struggled in the past, and you get to the first few steps in this video and you're like, meh, I've already heard all this, hang on, because there are a couple steps right at the end that I think are the single most important steps that you can do that will ensure success with this, basically guarantee you that you can't screw up. So make sure you hang on. So step number one to having the best lawn in the neighborhood, kill the dang thing.
So yeah, I like to use Roundup Quick Pro and make sure that you don't get just Roundup Concentrate. I like Roundup Quick Pro because once you spray it and it starts to get absorbed by those plants, whatever it's leaves or weeds, or grass that you're trying to kill, there's no more activity, so to speak, going on with that Roundup Quick Pro. You can basically seed the very next day, which is unlike other weed killer, grass killer type options. You gotta wait. This one, once it starts getting absorbed, that sucker's toast, and you can move on to the next steps the very next day. That's why I really like it. And you're gonna see a couple different clips here because I've done this across 5 different lawns.
Okay, so step number 2 could be number 1 if you're skipping number 1. Wouldn't recommend skipping it, but you can. Is to scalp the lawn. So I'm gonna cut it real low now that everything's completely dead. But honestly, like I said earlier, even if it doesn't look dead right now, that Roundup Quick Pro will absolutely kill it. So you can scalp it and it'll still actively work on those roots and get that stuff wiped out.
So scalping is a really important step here. And like I said, if you skip step 1 where you're killing everything, at least don't skip this one. This one's very important to maximize the seed to soil contact. What I mean by you got to make sure the seed's touching dirt. If it's not touching dirt, you're basically screwed. So cut it down as low as your mower will possibly allow it. Whether it's dead or alive, you're gonna want to do this to clear the canvas. Make sure you got a good base to work on for the next few steps, and then try not to die from the dust.
God. So step number 3 after you've scalped is going to be to dethatch. What that's going to do is lift up anything that's already dead, just hanging out on your soil surface, or some of the grass that you just cut down and it's laying down there. It's going to lift it up so that step number 4 in this process is a lot easier.
And for clarity's sake, not to beat a dead horse or anything, but dethatching is just removing the thatch layer. Thatch is basically dead grass, sticks, all sorts of debris that provides a barrier between your soil and sunlight and rain and everything. You want to remove the thatch layer probably once every 2 years. You don't want to do it more frequently than that because it's pretty tough on your turf. But you could use, like I have right here, the pull behind dethatcher, or you can use a dethatching rake, or you can even rent your own dethatcher from Home Depot. Or Greenworks actually sells a battery powered dethatcher that I really like and I use on some small spots.
So now that we scalped, dethatched, now it's time to rake that thatch up. There's no point in scraping it up if you're just gonna leave it in the exact same spot and it's just gonna settle back down on that soil and create that barrier just again. So I'm gonna come through with a brush, a pull behind brush that's gonna lift all that up. You can use a landscaping rake or just a normal rake or a leaf blower, a lot of people use. So if you wanna blow it out like into the street, you can blow it out there and then collect it on the street so that it's not sitting on your grass. But one of the most important steps here is making sure that you get good seed to soil, fertilizer to soil to seed contact. And right now we're just making sure that happens, lifting up all that crap and giving our seed the best chance possible to germinate and throw some roots. All right, now that we got a clean canvas, it's time to aerate. Just give a little bit more airflow down to the soil, make sure that seeds can kind of get in those little pockets that you create with an aerator. I like to use a core aerator. There's spike aerators. There's all sorts of aerators, even ones that you can use like on your shoes. But I have a pull behind spike aerator that I'll show you, but there's tons of options. You can rent one at Home Depot, or you can just buy one of the little handheld ones depending on your property size.
But whichever option you use, Aerating is basically like, you can kind of hear it in the name. You're adding air into your soil and root zone. I like a core aerator. I know I said I used a spike pull behind, but I don't. It's a core aerator. But I like cores because it's pulling out that dirt, whereas spikes just like stabbing into the ground. It pulls it up, and it's not creating more compaction further down or in other areas. That's why I like to use a core aerator. Again, you can pay somebody to come do it for you. You can rent your own from Home Depot, or you can just, I'm not going to go through all the options again, but there's a lot of options for how you can aerate. But this helps with moisture getting down further into your root zone, compaction. If you haven't aerated in a long time and you don't want to do any of these steps, maybe you want to seed, I would say you definitely need to aerate before you do anything else. Even if you don't want to seed, please aerate, because it's very important for making sure that your soil is not compact. If it's compact, heck, even the roots won't grow, or even the weeds won't grow there. You really want to loosen up your soil and give the roots a shot.
Now that we've got our lawn good and aerated, getting great moisture, airflow down to our soil, makes it less compact and more able to absorb nutrients and, fertilizers, you name it. Now, it's our Super Bowl. I described this to one of my clients last weekend. It was like, this is my Super Bowl right here. When we put down the seed, we put down the fertilizer, this is it. This is when I start to get kind of nervous, but it was go time, baby. So if you guys live in Tennessee and you want some high quality stuff, I always go to Dick and Surf. Really like those guys. They shoot me straight, honestly. The seed that I get from them is one of the best fescue blends that you can get. Top 4 cultivars of fescue. It's awesome. Freaking rocks. I've already done this on a couple other lawns last weekend, and I'm already starting to see some germination, which is awesome. Super fast. So give them a visit if you're interested. They didn't pay me to say that. I just like them.
Now, when you go to seed, make sure you read the bag, because it'll tell you exactly, based on the spreader that you're using, what to set it to. With this particular bag right here, if you're overseeding, and I think of overseeding as like you're seeding on over top of existing grass. I don't know if that's what it means, but it sounds cool to me. If you're overseeding and you hadn't killed your grass, that 50-pound bag will cover 10,000 square feet. If you are seeding from dirt, like I am right here, it's going to be half that. So a 50-pound bag will cover 5,000 square feet. So just keep that in mind. And once we've seeded, now we're putting down the starter fertilizer. I use a starter fert from the Andersons a lot of the time. It's called just the Andersons starter fertilizer. Link will be down below in the description. Or I'll use the starter fert from Dickens. But, I'm not going to recommend one versus the other. They're both great. I try to only use high quality stuff. I'm not buying stuff from Home Depot because it's garbage. So when you do this, though, make sure that you're watching your rates. That bag from Dickens will cover 5,000 square feet. I know the bag from the Andersons will also cover 5,000 square feet. So make sure that you know how big your lawn is before you're putting down your fertilizers. Super important step.
Now we're moving on to what I would consider the 2 most important steps here. Number 1, something people rarely ever do, but rake this stuff in. If you've got a dethatcher, if you've got a hand rake, if you've got whatever, raking that in gives you a virtual success guarantee with this. It keeps your seed moist, it keeps it in place, it keeps the birds off of it, you name it. It's like, I would say it's the most important thing, minus the last step. But if you haven't had success in the past, please try to rake it in. I'm telling you, it's the most important thing.
But just hammering in that point, guys, it's so important for you to have good seed to soil contact. That's essentially what we're doing here. Yes, there's some protectionary elements with this, but it is making sure that your grass seed is touching dirt. You need it touching dirt, and you need it wet. So this helps with both those things. This really prevents, those hot afternoons. Your seed's not going to get torched like it would if it were sitting on top of the surface.
All right, now that we got that seed good and raked in, it's protected from the elements to some degree. We'll get a good bit of moisture with it with this next step. This is super important. Okay, so there's an old saying with grass seed when you're putting it down is If it dries, it dies. You can mark it down. I can't believe how many people that I've talked to that, I've been like, I didn't have a really good experience last time I overseeded. And I was like, and no joke, it's probably in the double digits of people where I've been like, well, did you keep it, make sure you kept it watered? And they were like, well, no, I didn't know that. And it's across the board. So many people don't know that you have to water your grass seed. You got to keep it moist through those first 2 weeks. After that, you can taper off for sure. But those first 2 weeks are super, super, super important. I water my lawn at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and 6 p.m. for 2 weeks for about 12 minutes at each time. So basically, I've got it on a timer. The timer that I really like is one by Melner. It's that 4-port one, but another one that I'm really starting to like a lot is the Husky. It's very simple, but you have to have a phone to use it. But you can have your schedule done in like 15 seconds, whereas the other one takes about 15 minutes to program. And then if you want 4 ports, you can do the little splitter at the top and then put one over here and one over here. It's a little bit more expensive. It's about $69 at Home Depot, but honestly, the Husky thing is the direction that I'm headed for the future. But make sure that you put down, I like impact sprinklers just for sheer coverage area. One of the ones from Husky, it covers about 7,700 square feet, which is nuts. That is my entire front lawn. That is dependent on water pressure. I don't have the greatest water pressure, so I'm going to put one up here and one back here, but make sure that you're getting full coverage of your entire lawn, and make sure you're setting up that timer. You're not going to be able to go out there every single day, 4 times a day, and water it and turn it off and then move it to the next zone and turn it on. Please make sure that you get that timer, because that's going to make your life a billion times easier. So now we're just spraying and praying for about a month. After a month comes around, you could probably give it your first cut. Give your grass a tug, see if it pulls out. Just pull a couple strands of grass like that. If it holds on, you're probably good to go ahead and cut. And then after my first cut, I will come around with Lawn IV from the Andersons. It's a product we developed with the Andersons. If you don't mind giving it a shot, but I like to come back in about a month after I do this process and put that stuff down. That's the micronutrients that are super important for your soil. It's going to make sure that come spring and even into summer and into fall, your grass is growing really, really well. I've had a couple questions about it in terms of coverage. Make sure you read the bottle and make sure you know the square footage of your lawn. It covers 13,000 square feet. Okay, so my front lawn's about 7,000 square feet. So I need to empty half a bottle when I'm spraying it. But you want to spray a little bit quicker probably than you're used to. It's so much easier if you spray it and you're like, oh, I'm only a quarter of the way through the bottle. Then you go back and spray that exact same thing, but you can't take up the spray and the solution off the lawn. You can put more down, you can't take more up. So spray quickly. We're talking about a pace maybe like that versus like that. Spray with a good bit of pace, and then come back and reevaluate based on your bottle. Mark it on the side with a Sharpie, like it's full here, and then when you're done, mark it, and from there you'll be able to gauge how much you put down on your lawn. But err on the side of caution with that one. Thanks for sticking around for this video. Give it a shot. Let me know. It's not too late. No matter where you live, really. You can get started on that this weekend. You can have the process completely done and just wait through the rest of the fall for your grass to grow. Until next time, keep cutting. Peace.